What's up, everybody? Back here with the Strictly Unrelated podcast. You're listening to your host, Brian, and directly to my right in the high security cell is Emma.
Yo, what's up? It's a good day. It's a weird day, but it's a good day.
She has been released on good behavior.
I know.
She has just been so polite this week.
I know. I've been really working on it. Like, I feel like I've got this down. Like, I finally started to get it together and not bite people for, like, you know, funsies. I guess it's kind of...
You have not bit anyone in a week. It's been very good.
I almost nibbled one of the security guards, but I decided not to because last time I did that, they got really mad at me, too. They said it was still biting, and I was like, I was being sexy.
All right. Well, listen, we're recording this, so don't admit to any crimes. They do listen to this podcast.
I ain't do shit.
Listen, you said you were tempted to nibble, so I'm just saying, just be careful.
I thought about it.
You've had a good week. Don't give them any reason to come after you. All right.
They have plenty
So they decided to let her out again.
They
decided to let her out again, and you won't believe this. Not only did they let her out, they took her to the theaters, and she got to pick the movie.
So the biggest regret of my life, I swear to God. Like,
so
fuck all the biting.
Emma, please tell us about your movie adventure.
Okay, so first thing you need to understand is, like, my dog is named Bill Paxton because I am the most ridiculous super fan of anything with Bill Paxton in it or whatever, everything he did, because he passed away sadly, which is right when I got my dog. So it was just like, I've been making jokes for years that I was going to have a dog named Bill Paxton though. So, I have that love, and one of my favorite movies of absolute all fucking time is Twister. It's the disaster movie. It is the fucking tornado movie, obviously.
Classic disaster movie.
Classic, yeah, and you can't beat it. There's other people like Geostorm and Into the Storm and all these other fucking movies that try to do tornadoes, and it just doesn't work. It just flops. Because I'm like, no, this is the best that's already been done. You need to just accept that and move on. So when I saw that Twisters, just with Twister, and it was absolutely...
Twisters!
It was meant as a sequel, but then only, of course, now they're like, it was never meant as a traditional sequel. Bitch, what the fuck is it? You mean a sequel? An actual, like, it's either a sequel or it's fucking not. It can be, it's in the same universe. Okay, cool. That's not really a sequel, though. That's not, like, I don't know. It's, like... You have Alien versus
Twister
Predator.
multiverse.
Well, you have Alien versus Predator, and first of all, which is like that's the same universe, and they bring them together. There's nothing in this movie. It's like they fucking knew what it was. They knew it wasn't that great, and they decided to market it as Twisters to get people like me to go to the theater and like waste their time and money. This movie, it's if people thought that this Force Awakens was just a New Hope 2.0. This movie doesn't even begin to cover, like, how, no. At least The Force Awakens had some plucky characters I really liked. At least The Force Awakens did something interesting, and I was like, I laughed at several points. I didn't laugh once during this movie. And, like, the original Twister, like, there's always been laughter. It's so fucking funny, especially with, the whole crew that they have. You can't help but laugh and love the whole team. You don't give a shit about the team in these movies. Like, you don't know who they are. They don't spend any time really fleshing those characters out.
They're just a bunch of nobodies with no backstory or anything.
Yeah, and then they basically, like, there's, when they called Bill in the original film a human barometer, there's another character named Kate, just like that in this. There's the rival named Jonas, and in this movie, it's a different, I don't even remember the dude's name. I was, like, so bored, dude. It is the only movie in my life. I went alone, and I seriously considered walking out. Because it was just, I got so mad at certain scenes. Because there's just things that are just bad writing, plain and simple. Like, there's one scene where this guy, like, she's at her mom's house, which is, like, secluded. She went by herself and, like, ran away. There's no reason this dude would know where she was or know where she lives, let alone her mom's house, or, like, let alone just waltzing into the barn while she's in there. And they just have this conversation. Like, she doesn't even acknowledge, like, oh, hey, what are you doing here? Nothing. He's just there. And it's like, okay. Calm down. Did the tornado pick him up and put her inside the fucking house? Jesus Christ. But it has nothing to do with the first one at all. There's just these small, vague fan references like, I'm not back, and things like that. And I'm like, ha, 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 ha. Look, it's the same line that Bill Paxton said in the original. This makes it a sequel. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself.
Do you remember?
Whoever made that movie. I swear to God, that movie deserves to be dropped in the Mariana Trench like it's fucking Jumanji. Just boom, 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 into the depths, okay? Like, I can't stress, and I understand though. There's people who like it because it's just fun, but for me, I'm a fucking super fan to the most annoying degree. So like, I'm gonna have opinions about it, but like, it's just I didn't like the characters just didn't do it, man. There's no Dusty, there's no.
No, it's super fair. It's
there is
super
a
fair
character
because they do that a lot.
If you remember from the first movie,
Hollywood does that a lot. Sorry to jump in. Hollywood does that a lot. They bring in, an IP, like you said. They were banking on the Emmas of the world to show up for Twister because they know people love Twister. And then they just, like I said, they feed you the member berries and they give you a weak script and you don't know anybody that's in the, it's like nobody remembers like explicit extreme detail about the characters in Twisters, but they remember liking them because they were likable.
Right. And see, like there's everything in this movie is like, it follows the exact same story beats as the first one. It's like completely just a rip off. It's so obviously just a rip off. Like in the original one, Melissa is, Bill's new fiance or whatever. In this movie, it's that same kind of character who doesn't know where they are and gets scared of it. Oh my God, tornadoes!
I'm a fish out of water.
It's a journalist named. I just got a message. So there's a bling on my computer. I'm gonna mute my computer. I'm done. Anyway, so it's
why don't you mute your? That was a good cover though, calling it your computer. Make sure that security monitor is on silent.
I don't want. Okay, I don't want to freak anybody out when they hear like, hey, there's this monitor on me that like that's the sound. It just happens to sound a lot like a Facebook Messenger sound, and maybe I asked for that specifically though because it gave me brought me back to old times. But anyway, what I was saying about Twisters.
True. Anyways, Twisters is shit.
It's
so go ahead.
It's the first movie I've seen in theaters in like literally years though. Like that part is absolutely real. It's just based on that formula. Like someone dies in the beginning, and it's the catalyst for the main character's story arc, just like in the first one. The night scene at the drive-thru with The Shining, in this movie was a rodeo. It's all the same fucking stories. You can literally just point it out like bit by bit. They go. One of the best scenes in the original one is when they go to Meg's house, the Aunt Meg's house. In this, it's just she goes to her mom's and she's alone, and there's nothing there that's fun or interesting. There's no character development there. Like, it's so stupid. I'm like, why didn't the whole team go?
I was going to say no meet the team or team building kind of scene.
Yeah, there should have been, though. And the other thing, this is really weird. I didn't know this until I watched this movie, how important it is and how much of a feel you get for the tone of Twister in the fact that everything in that movie is an original score except for the music you hear playing out of the people's cars. Because there's that amazing montage scene where one of them, they're singing, oh, hey, Oklahoma, like, and then there's another one of the other ones is playing Deep Purple, and it's just showing. I love my favorite guy. My favorite guy in that whole montage is the one listening to Ride of the Valkyrie. Just
oh yeah,
that's fucking hilarious. It's like that. I don't even remember exactly. I might be wrong on what the song is, but it's a classic song.
Yeah, it's okay.
But anyway, it's still like classic.
Same energy.
It's fantastic. At least that original scene. There's like, you don't even know the names of all their teammates because I don't know the name of the team members in Twister. I don't need to. I know the characters, and that's all that matters. I just think this movie was
because again they felt real. They felt like they were actual real people, and all you need to do is just little things to just let people know like who they are or humanize them. Whereas you see a lot of this shit happens with the nostalgia grab movies where they just insert these characters that are just fairly lifeless, and they're just there to deliver nostalgia lines, and it's like, okay, well, the writing's really poor. But hey, the movie's called Twisters. It's gonna make a lot of money. Let's go, bro.
Exactly. And then like this one, in the Twisters, all they did was play just nothing but bad country music over the whole film. So like there was no original score. It was just a bunch of like songs mashed together. And I was like, oh, that's what made me realize like the original has that amazing original score.
I can't wait to get home and fuck my tractor.
Backwoods, we're a bunch of backwoods retards.
Mainstream country might be one of the greatest plagues on humanity. Just gonna say that.
Yeah. Let me just make it clear. I love all kinds of music, and there's plenty of country music that I fucking love. But
oh sure.
But every single song in this movie was like that. I don't want to go in here and there. Like it was just. It was just this like very sappy, like clear pop country. It was all I'm sure people who listen, I'm sure people who are country music fans would, like, if they heard the songs in this movie, would recognize all of them, which I hate. I hate it when movies put in, like, current music, because it just takes me out of it. Unless it's part of the storyline, you know, if it's like if the story takes place in the present and like the music is important.
Well, to be fair, the people that listen to that kind of country music are probably really easily entertained by jangling keys, so
And this is
it
also
probably fit them just perfectly.
I'm just realized, though, this is also the first time that I've ever been the one to go on a rant for the first 10 minutes. Usually it's you. This is the first time I've ever just gone, just opinions, listen to them.
I was excited. I was like, yo, I'm just going to unleash this woman on the opening of the podcast because she hated
so
that
many
movie.
Thoughts. Dude, I just wish that I want people to see the movie and then go, I understand what you meant. Like, I'm not even discouraging anyone from seeing it. I'm just like, dude, you need to see this atrocity.
And that's the amazing part. That's the amazing part is that when you started telling me how much you didn't like it, and then we both immediately were just like, look at the scores. People are loving this movie.
I know, which is so weird.
And I was like, the super fan over here is really disappointed in it. I was like, I wonder if she's just being hypercritical, or
they just
like,
straight up
but
stole
damn.
the original fucking story. Like I said, every single story beat. You can sit there and predict the next scene that you're going to see without any fail. Like, I was sitting there, by the first scene was interesting, but like the first bit was really interesting. And then like after the first little bit, I was like 5 or 10 minutes in and I was like, oh, okay. And the next scene is this one. And the next, yep, it was just completely predictable and boring for that reason, because it follows the exact same formula as Twister.
Yeah, it's really
so
unfortunate.
it actually doesn't surprise me that people like it, because they basically just remade Twister in their own way, and Twister is a classic movie. So a lot of people who aren't diehard fans are just enjoying like another tornado movie that's maybe half decent. So I might be entirely wrong. There's things about it that I look back and my friends were saying, I was like, yeah, you know what? There's parts of it that are okay, and I'm being harsh, but that's just how I feel, bro. Like, I don't know if I'm ever. I would watch it with somebody who hasn't seen it. I'd watch it again just to prove my point. Like, see, I was right.
You know what? And you know what? And you know what? You might watch it again, maybe even in like a couple of years, and you might say, you know what? I still don't like it, but it's okay.
It might be the same way. It might be the same way I felt about the Prometheus. Prometheus was a huge letdown, but the first time I saw it, I was just raging, even worse than I am right now. The second time I saw it, I was like, okay, you know what? This is really bad, but there's elements of this that I can sit here and enjoy, just because I also enjoy watching bad movies. So.
Oh, sure. But they have to be so bad they're good, though. That's the thing. And we've talked about that on previous episodes. It's like there's a difference between like a bad movie and a movie that's so bad it's good.
Yeah, Prometheus can suck my dick, though, like, for real.
I could see you making that offer to it. But it's, I'm sure you'd be very polite about it, too. But it's funny because you kind of rambling to me off camera. We're not on camera either, but off podcast. I remember just thinking to myself, going, I wonder if there's anything besides the obvious answer of Ghostbusters, the estrogen edition from 2016.
Yeah.
If there was any other film that I was like really disappointed, like when I saw it, because again, I've said it before, I went and bought a ticket to Ghostbusters 2016. I did not expect to like it, but I wanted to support the brand, and Jesus Christ, my expectations were low. But goddamn. And rather than talk about that again, I was just like, I've definitely seen films in theaters that disappointed me, and it took me a little while to think of one, but I think I have one. And I'm not going to derail from Twisters, because certainly if you come up with something else, please tell me.
I need to stop ranting about it. I need to stop. I think 15 minutes is about enough.
Listen, when you get bit by a rattlesnake or a venomous snake, sometimes you got to suck the poison out, all right? So if there's still a little in there, suck it all out.
Giggity.
But, giggity. And good job. And so that's going to be really easy to sync this audio. I'll just match up the giggities, because that was at the same time.
Giggity goose.
So
giggity.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say fucking Terminator 3.
The third one? Really?
So when I went to see Terminator 3, now there's something that's worth mentioning. Where we are now in the current timeline in 2024, Terminator 3 is the third best Terminator film. And that's atrocious, because there's been like, I think, 384 sequels, maybe 385. There's been a lot of Terminator movies. And I remember seeing Terminator 3 and being so fucking mad.
I haven't seen
in the theaters. You haven't seen the third one?
No, I've told you this before.
Oh,
when
damn.
when I
All
can
right.
tell that it's going to be bad, and like I don't want to ruin the first, because like I love those first two movies, and I was like, no, if I think it's done for me. Like I haven't watched any. I have
Listen,
not seen a single other Terminator film besides 1 and 2.
Listen, definitely see the third one. I'll say that much. Don't treat it like a sequel to the second one, even though it's very blatantly a sequel to the second one. It felt really flimsy, and in some places it felt a little cheap. But at the same, and the story was kind of lame. It definitely has nowhere near the actual like depth and emotional impact that the first or second ones do.
Right.
It definitely has a modern film feeling, despite the fact that it came out like what, 2010,
Something like that.
I feel like it came out something around there, maybe even earlier
Yeah,
than that.
something like that.
But the action scenes were still very good. I thought the action scenes were fun, but overall, after seeing it and seeing the ending, which I will not spoil now since you haven't seen it, but like, they make this random revelation about Skynet, and it's just like, excuse me, slut? What did you say?
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, what do you mean Skynet is blank? And it was, and again, and the guy they picked to play John Connor, I don't know, he always kind of drove me nuts, but I'll still see Twisters, definitely, because it was one of those movies, just to jump back on that. I wanted to make sure, I wanted to call out my favorite disappointed movie, because, yeah, Terminator 3 made me sad. But then seeing all the other fucking Terminators that came out, holy shit, there are some bad Terminator movies, and they are not nearly as bad. The third one is not nearly as bad as a single one of them.
Yeah, no, it's.
But maybe I need to rewatch them.
There's a reason though that I haven't watched that. Like, I've done that with a lot of series, and maybe I'm wrong for doing it, but like, there's always a point where I'm like, and I'm cut off. Like, I'm not watching the third one. Now, the only franchise that I haven't applied that to is Aliens, of course. Like, if it's Aliens, I'm gonna go fucking see it. And if it's Predator,
I was gonna say you're a diehard.
Oh yeah, and if it's Predator, I'm gonna go fucking see it. Like, I don't care. There's so many good Predator movies out at this point. Which one? I don't care which one it is. I love all of them, especially there's Predator, there's the Predator, and then there's Predators, and then there's what was it? There's a bunch of like very similar.
There
titles.
was one of them that was really bad though.
You mean with
wasn't
with
the
Key
one
and Peele? What's his name? Andre Key?
Yes.
I love that movie. I love it completely unironically. Ugh. It's absolutely atrocious. It's so bad, and I love it. I love the banter between them and the bus.
I love how they ran with this child has autism, thus he knows mega science. And it's like, oh no.
I think that was great. I was like, this is a great fucking choice. I love it. I'm just going to keep watching this. I can watch the movie again and again.
It is now in lore.
It's fantastic.
Sorry, I was going to say it is now in lore that all the Predators are autistic.
Oh, and it's the other one I'm thinking about is Prey. Prey is fucking sweet.
Oh, yeah, the one with like the Native American girl.
Uh-huh. That one's awesome, dude. Like, that one's one of my favorites. And then there's the one with Topher Grace and Adrian Brody. Predators.
I don't think I saw that one.
Oh, that one's pretty good with Lawrence Fishburne. The cast is stacked. And it's definitely really, really fun. I think Walter Goggins is in it, actually. Yeah, I'm right. Walter Goggins was in it. He plays like a felon that was on death row or some shit. It's awesome.
Naturally.
Of course. And it's sweet as hell. So like those are the only two franchises though that like I'm gonna go see whatever comes out. I don't care. I can expect it to be horrible, and I'm still gonna go see it. It could be called Prometheus 2, and I'll still go see it. Like,
I mean, I'll never get the image in Prometheus of what's her face, Charlize Theron, just running in a straight line while she gets crushed by a wheel that she could have just sidestepped.
That scene is burned into my memory. Like visually, I can just close my eyes and see it.
It's fantastic.
It's awesome. And then Idris Elba,
it's so awesome.
They stacked that cast too, man. Idris Elba was in it. But like literally the first thing that these scientists are exploring an unknown spacecraft, and the first thing they do is, oh, we found possibly an organism. Let's poke it with a stick and no protective gear. Like, what are you doing? You're not like, that's the most basic shit.
It's such a standard horror movie trope, because it's just the idea of like, we know people are stupid. And we know people do stupid things.
There's so many other ways that shit could go south. There's so many other ways that could have gone wrong just because of where they are, without people making dumb choices. Except for like the first one, like they didn't quarantine.
All right, well, anyway. Today you are listening to the Strictly Unrelated podcast.
It's all about aliens.
And naturally, we got Oh yeah, don't
Thank
worry.
you for
and
cutting me
listen,
off.
You're.
Thank you for just like
I was
stopping.
gonna say. I was just gonna say because we got a lot of movies ahead of us.
I was
and
literally like
trust me,
about to give him a full TED talk, dude. I don't even give a shit. I didn't.
No,
I'm so glad you cut me off.
I think we. Listen. I don't know if you're fucking with me, but I'm not trying to cut you off on purpose.
No,
I will
it
just
was
say
good.
we got a lot of movies to talk about.
No, you're perfect. I literally am so grateful that you cut me off because literally I was like already forming the thoughts in my head and like I was about to give my TED talk on aliens and like no. We are keeping in theme with this kind of topic though with twisters and whatnot. And the other thing I wanted to say, Biden just stepped aside. Biden is no longer the nominee for the Democratic candidate.
So anyways, on to the next subject because we are not stepping in that today. That could be for the next episode.
I knew you were
anyways,
I knew you were gonna stop me and be like, no, we're not talking about that. I knew it.
We are not doing Sleepy Joe's big nap today. We are going to have to do that another time.
I knew you would cut me off again. I was just like, do it again.
And
do it again.
And on National Ice Cream Day, he steps down. Of all people, Joe steps down on National Ice Cream Day.
Yeah, he wants to do it.
He had one last Sunday to get today.
He's got a date.
Anyways. So, but no, awesome shit. I'm glad we could get you in. I'm glad we could show people that it's not just me who's capable of rambling and complete.
Oh no,
complete aggravation. You are very capable.
I'm the one
well.
with ADHD. That's the most miraculous thing about this podcast so far. That we've gone 9 episodes and like I've not once really truly started rambling about some shit that like I could go on for 2 hours and had to have you cut me off.
Until
ADHD as fuck.
Until this next section, which I think we're going to get a rant from you again at some point because we got some good topics picked out today.
This episode might just be Emma finally rants.
Well, until Romulus comes out, in which case that episode will probably just be me leaning back and letting you speak for an hour.
It's less than a month away. Oh my god. I'm so fucking stoked, dude. Did you see the popcorn bucket?
For those of you...
Did you see the Xenomorph popcorn bucket?
I saw the Xenomorph popcorn bucket, and I saw that they decided to not make it look like a fleshlight like the Dune one, and people were upset.
I would have paid extra money for the fleshlight looking one. I would have been fine.
I don't doubt it. It sounds exactly like the kind of thing you would buy.
If it's a Xenomorph, if it's any kind of memorabilia for aliens, I want it. I don't care. I have an aliens coloring book. I have an aliens little salt and pepper shakers that look like the egg, and a cookie jar that looks like one of these eggs. I have the most ridiculous shit over the years that I've collected. I have about 20 shirts.
Just so everybody knows, it's actually written in her patient file here in this security wing that when she does die someday, she is going to be cremated in an urn that looks like an alien egg.
That's I love that idea. I'm not even kidding you. Like, for real. I'm not kidding. I would that would be fucking hilarious. I just put me in my cookie jar. She's gonna hatch one day. Exactly. Oh my god, someone's gonna uncover my grave and then a little fucking face hugger's gonna come out and
yeah, this is gonna be the Xenomorph with your face on it just going.
I think that would be absolutely hysterical, and also I'm gonna put that shit in my will. That's excellent.
You have to make sure that the egg gets delivered to your.
Just picturing my poor children.
The egg has to get delivered to your enemies.
Picture my poor children having to fucking do that and get me cremated and put me in the alien egg and just they want to put me in a proper urn and keep me somewhere. I'm like, no, you need to put me in the alien egg. That's how I want to go, bro. Anyway, so we have other topics to talk about.
I think any of your potential children are going to know more than enough about you to realize that this is going to be totally in theme for you.
Yeah, they're not. My kids aren't going to be allowed to watch Aliens till I was 9 and I was sick home and I stayed home for the first time, I think, and so I just did what any child would do, just watched 3 of those movies in a row because I wasn't allowed to watch them, and then I had nightmares for 2 weeks because my mom is just the best, and I wanted to give her the gift of having to wake up every single 2 hours to come to come comfort me and realize that there's no face hugger under my bed. Thanks, Mom. I appreciate it. Sorry, my bad. It sparked a whole love though, and a whole thing for me.
And then a lifelong obsession began.
Yep. That's true story though.
Speaking of your potential future kids, I also don't see you I don't see you having any ability to contain yourself, taking a photo suggesting that your child burst out of your chest.
How do you know me so well? Jesus Christ. I'm not kidding. I've made jokes for years that one day whenever I have kids, like the announcement is just going to be me with my pregnant belly and just watching an alien playing, like putting a little fake alien in there, watching it pop out. And just like the father
like I said,
of my husband.
I know the extent of your fandom.
I just want my husband or whoever, like my boyfriend, whoever is like the father of the baby, just standing next to me looking horrified, like all of them at the very first movie when Kane is on the table. Okay, we're still talking about aliens. It's 25 minutes in and we're still talking about aliens. But
listen,
it's true.
I wanted to give you. Listen, I've gone on plenty of big rants in the beginning. I wanted to let you have your time in the sun, and like I said, you were on good behavior this week too. So yeah. I wanted to show the administrator that maybe soon they could let you out for another film, because I would hate if they didn't let you out for Romulus. So we'll go ahead and keep showing that you're on good behavior, and go on to the opening topic today, which is a little segment we're going to be calling General Advice. It is a hilariously clever play on the phrase general advice, right?
Absolutely hilarious, Brian. You're a genius.
We paid a guy on Craigslist. Listen, I didn't write it. I paid a guy on Craigslist $5 and a firm handshake, and he came up with that.
That doesn't surprise me.
And
was he high?
Yeah, I do a lot of things on Craigslist. Just don't ask.
Weirdo.
So
you're weird.
The question, I am. I never. Who was? When did I say I wasn't? So what is something?
Pick something that
you believe. Listen, keep it down. You're on a good streak so far, but don't push it. What is something that you believe the other gender needs to hear? That's right, we're doing the gender topics today, but I figured this would be a fun little thing to talk about, especially us being opposite genders. And obvious questions are violence and respect. Those are easy answers. We're going to keep those out. Those are heavy conversations and things that you would hope that by now you don't need to be reminded of people to not, fucking beat up or be a nasty piece of shit to someone that you're interested in, or just the other gender in general. So
sure.
I'm gonna pass it off to me since you've been talking way too much.
Yeah, so you go.
And yeah, you better apologize. Who needs to hear it when it comes to being better, communicating with your gender or the other gender, so on and so forth. So first of all, apology accepted for talking too much.
Shut up.
I think something that women definitely need to hear, and this is again from a strictly male perspective.
I
so
swear to God, if you go,
suppose.
I swear to God, if you could take this in a funny direction, I'm going to kill you.
A funny direction of what? I'm going to be serious.
I know you are.
I got 3 serious
I'm just saying,
answers.
there's so many things. What all women need to know is just to shut the fuck up and stay in the kitchen. Like.
Listen, we're not sponsored by Prime. This is not an Andrew Tate kind of podcast. We're not gonna do that kind of shit. All right. We got our weekly quota of making fun of that bald little bitch out of the way. So what I would say is the one that drives me the absolute most nuts, and I think there's a lot of guys that would echo the sentiment, is playing hard to get. Okay, it's a classic old tradition. And it's not cute. It's really stupid. And I'm just going to go ahead and get on the extreme and say it creates rapists. That's right. It creates rapists. And that's because when you play... Listen, people like being pursued. People like being pursued. That's fine. That's cute even. You have a little fun. You're chasing each other on the playground, right? You're trying to get each other's attention and all that. But what I'm talking about specifically, and I've seen this multiple times across all kinds of social media platforms, the situation where a girl doesn't understand that when she says no and a guy just drops his pursuit, and then she goes, well, why didn't he try harder? And it's like, because bitch, you said no.
No, we don't do that.
A lot of guys.
You need to communicate in this world. If you're a fucking grown ass adult, you need to communicate what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and not play games. Because it's like that's childish shit. Yeah. That's what people do in high school. That's what people do in their early 20s. Sometimes it's like, I'm over it, and I think we're too old at this point. We're in our mid to late 30s, so it's just. Maybe that's other people in their 20s, like they don't know how to stop doing that because it's the only way they know.
And that's the good news. And that's the good news, is that it tends to be something that affects kids,
that's something that
early
affects
20-years.
I would say that's actually that thing. I think that also applies what I'm saying, what women need to say to men, because there's a lot of games that men play that it's like
sure, absolutely,
and it's also just as infuriating because it's like we are grown ass adults. Just open your mouth, use your words. tell me what you're going on. If you're mad, just tell me what's up, and don't play games. Don't like I'm fine. No, are you sure? I'm fine. Like, no, you're not. Okay. If you, that's the stupidest answer. Like, okay, I understand if you don't want to talk about it at that point, just say that. Just say, right now, I'm not sure how I feel, but I really don't want to talk about it right now. We can talk about it later. That's what grown-ups do. Congratulations, you're fucking part of the human race that actually knows how to function.
It absolutely boils my piss to see that kind of bullshit where they're just like, where it's just like, well, you just need to ask a little harder, or you need to. Every
Try
time
harder.
I say
Why
no,
didn't
it's
you
not
fight
really
for
a no,
me?
because
you didn't fight for me. That's what it is.
Well, not even fight for me. It's literally just that idea of, well, no doesn't mean, it's I'm gonna do my daily pilfering of Bill Burr's material and just say that no means no, but no, stop it doesn't mean no. And that's the problem, is that people play that game of just like, oh, stop it. You're such a bad boy. Oh, my God, no. It's like, that's not a no. It's like, just be clear. Just say, listen,
though.
nah,
it is.
I'm out.
That's the
no,
problem, though.
Don't
When
want to
someone
do it.
says that, you should do exactly what they say and just go, okay, and stop. Like, that.
But that's the thing that's funny, though, because that person doesn't mean no. And so if you're the other guy,
I think understanding,
because that's how they explain it. They phrase it that way because they want you to keep just being like, oh yeah, or else you would just say no. It's like you don't have, and again,
I don't know if I would go so far to say,
sit over here and just be like,
I don't know if I would go so
no,
far to say that creates racists. I think what it does, or racist, excuse me, rapists.
Well,
both. It probably creates both, but I don't think that that's quite fair to say that creates rapists.
Well, it's because it creates a culture.
It perpetuates rape culture.
Let me defend it and say it creates a culture of guys that think
rape culture.
It creates a culture of guys that think they have to just keep. Yes, it creates a culture of guys that think that they just, the first no, it never really means anything. You just have to try again, or like, oh. You see the same thing with guys that go after like married or taken girls, where they get this mentality of just because there's a goalie doesn't mean you can't score, and it's like, yeah. Same concept. It's like, don't play this silly idea of like, well, if you try harder to chase me, then maybe you'll catch me. And it's like, no, fuck you. Don't do that. And guys need to realize, again, because I'm not saying any of this to say guys don't play games, because everyone's fucking stupid when it comes to relationships.
Some
at
men
some
are worse
point
than women, dude.
Yeah, everybody. Yeah. So I'm gonna pass it off there, and I'll let you go. Go ahead. Give me one from the fairer sex.
I don't know if that's insulting or not. It's like, that's a nice thing to say, but also fuck you. Like, I don't know.
It's one of those. It's so one of those like traditionalist, condescending kind of things where it's like, well, men are just so dirty and hardy and tough and strong and awesome, and you're just fairer. So go ahead.
If there's one thing that I want to be able to say, like general advice I want to give to men, I understand the things I'm going to say are like a very small. Like at this point, I think in the minority of men that do this, but they still fucking do it. Or just rather don't do what I'm saying. Men need to learn more about women's bodies, period. Like in every way, for every reason. I think so does the rest of the world, because our bodies are like, people didn't care at the 50s. Oh, well, she's just psychotic. Just throw her in the mental institution.
She's just got hysteria.
Yeah, right, exactly. Just like, no, what she is manic depressive, because she's been raised in this patriarchal environment where she has no voice, no ability to take care of herself. And her husband's cheating on her, and she just couldn't take it anymore and started yelling at him. Oh my God, what a crazy bitch. You better take something like a wooden dildo and start massaging her with it, because clearly that'll clear her right up, and no more hysteria there.
That'll fix her cold right away.
Mm-hmm. No, it's that plenty of guys I know like they're grown ass men, and they don't give a shit about like women's periods necessarily. But there's other parts of that I think men, if you're married or you start trying for kids, you might learn some of it. Like the whole process of like what actually happens and like what timing, like there's a week where we're most fertile or something like that is actually right after you finish your period. FYI, little trivia fact, but stuff like that like, that's my problem with sex ed in school is not that it's there. I think it absolutely needs to be there, but I think there should be anatomy lessons and like understanding on both sides. I think boys need to learn about girls' anatomy and hear about periods and learn all that shit the same that we do. And vice versa, because it's important, and women's women's bodies are just completely overlooked. Because, like I said, all the way up until like 50s, 60s, 70s, we still don't understand like endometriosis. Like it. That's my biggest problem, is that there's men out there who are like, oh, I don't think it hurts that bad. They just completely don't understand. And I think all of those men that do that should have to wear one of those fucking machines that makes it like a simulator where they feel all the period pain. And like the fact that it can affect our heart rate. It can affect, like, literally, we can pass out. Like, there's so many different side effects that people have from their periods. And just understanding.
And I'll say that's definitely an empathy thing too. It's also just a matter of like, listen,
empathy.
Do you go through it? No. You don't go through it. You
it's
being
like
the hypothetical guy in this
would you like it if
situation. It's like
It's like if I kicked you in the balls once a month. Like, would it start to be real for you? Like, you just know it's coming and you
All right, I'm going to stop you right there. You're going to get a lot of real creepy DMs if you start making those offers. So just be careful.
I am not making an offer. To be very clear.
I mean, at least a dozen guys would have just stood up and said, "Kick me in the balls once a month." I'm single.
Okay. Well, my point is what I was getting at with the original thought is like, I'm not even justifying that with a comment. I don't even fucking know. So
you're still laughing though.
I am laughing. Fuck you. But just I would
but
say.
No,
just
it's fair.
What
you're saying is. Yeah, what you're saying is fair, though, because, again, it's an empathy thing where it's like, listen, you just need to understand that, fucking women, whether it's your girlfriend, your wife, even your fucking mother, your sister, whoever, it's like, you don't go through it. It looks like it's pretty painful. And, again, you might have family members, or, again, this could be your assuming it's your significant other, she might have no period. She might have a very light one. She might have a very heavy one.
Just
it's like it all depends. And,
learn your
it's like,
girl.
do you need to, like, be down there, like, getting all involved in it? No, you don't. But it's like, just be aware of it. It's like,
sure.
That's all.
And just have empathy and understand that, like, just look. I just want every guy. I'm not even going to look it up and list it right now. I would like any guy who's like that, like, needs to look up and see what are possible side effects of having a period, because the list is long, and the further you go down it, you're like, holy shit, what? That it can be literally. There was just study done that some women's periods can be as painful as a heart attack. Like, Jesus Christ! But in your goddamn uterus, it is. Like, it's not fun. And some women are lucky enough to not have any periods at all. Cramps at all. There's some women who actually relate me who don't have periods at all because of the kind of birth control I take. Fuck yeah, it's nice. FYI, TMI. But I think it's just
no way, not TMI with you. That's not something you do.
Yeah, exactly. When I say learn women's bodies too, though, it doesn't just mean like that, like gross, it's a period. Like, no, you need to also learn how to, like, what women's bodies, like the sensitive places. You need to learn what your girl likes. Every girl is different, much different.
Like the boobs.
I think
that's my favorite part of a woman.
I think every man is a little bit different, but every man is really the same. And I think every woman, at least in terms of, like, we're talking about sexuality, there's much more variety.
Misandrist.
What?
You're a dirty misandrist. I knew it.
Oh, yes. Let me just say this right now, just to make it very clear.
All you men are alike.
Misandry is not the answer for misogyny. I'll say it again. Misandry is not the answer for misogyny.
Now, wait a minute. I went to the official Twitter college of how to get mad at people, and I know that it's a perfect 100% fact that the only way you fight something is by doing the exact opposite of it, no matter how wrong, equally wrong, or stupid it is, and you win the argument.
Yep. I agree with that completely. I've done that before in my own life in personal situations. Hi, Maggie.
So when they do the misogynies, I do misandries, and that means I win.
Right. Okay. Well,
see? It cancels out.
It does. Okay. Okay. Go. What?
It's like when someone does a racism, I just do a different racism, and now they're equal.
No, that's not how that works at all.
That's exactly how that works, right? That's what that's what I keep getting told.
What's your other thing you wish you could tell women?
She's like, and I'm done with this.
You should see my face right now. I'm literally half my face is in my hand. Like, oh my god.
But no, dead serious. It's literally.
At some point, we need to set
It's legitimately what people do know. It's what they do, though. People think that, like, because, like you said, misandry's not the answer to misogyny. A lot of people do that shit, though. They think that, like, for example, if you're being, like, really racist to somebody, you just have to be, like, really racist back to them, just in a different way. And it's
listen,
like,
I've had days.
This doesn't really fix anything.
I understand. I've had days where I absolutely empathize, where I'm just like, fuck men, I fucking hate you all. Fuck you, god damn it.
Yeah.
But,
fuck the patriarchy.
However, I also know that I'm just angry that I don't literally mean all that. It's just me being an asshole because I need to vent. But I don't post it on Twitter. Like all men need to fucking go. Like they're so fucking useless. They're people. They're people, and men need to be complimented too, man, and they don't get complimented. It's like what we were talking about. I do that all the time. If I see like I say this to anyone because I have no filter.
Don't steal it.
I have no filter.
Don't steal it.
What do you mean don't steal it?
That's my next one, is that men don't get compliments.
That's right. That's why I was saying it.
I see. You're trying to be supportive. Okay, good recovery. Good recovery.
Which is, I tried to say already. Back to you, Brian. What's your second thing?
See, very supportive of you. I appreciate that.
I am very supportive of you.
All I was going to say, well, that's very, very nice. Now get back behind the bars.
Okay.
So a lot of men do not get compliments, and it's kind of old hat because you hear it talked about a lot, but it's kind of funny how like it's still worth talking about because it's something that I think people need to realize. It's like, and this isn't some fucking wah, men are sad, which is hilarious because that's how everybody fucking takes it. But that's how men have been treating women like that for how long? And all of a sudden, because people are just like, well, maybe we should treat both men and women with the same amount of like, let's just be complimentary of each other and like supportive, and then people are just like, oh, sad men, oh, poor sad. It's like, okay, listen, man, all I'm going to say is that take the number of compliments that the average guy gets from his mother. They get about 5% of that from their close friends, which is all the compliments in their life. And then that 5%, they get about a 0.2% slice of that from the women in their lives that they're not related to.
See, I've learned that
what I'm giving you is a cheat. I'm giving you women a cheat code. A cheat code. There's so many dudes that are absolutely starved for this kind of attention. Like literally, if you think that you have a guy like interested in you and you're trying to reel him in, you literally just compliment his hair or his clothing, and that guy's gonna remember it for years.
Literally, I was about to say, I have a friend who literally at one point, a girl, I think it was either a teacher or whatever, a pretty girl though, told him, oh, you look really good in red, you should wear that color, like that's a really good shirt on you. And he was like, and then I wore red for the rest of my fucking life, because that's it. And it's like things like that where men especially are just gonna cling to it and never forget it because they don't hear stuff like that all the time. And if any girl gives them a compliment, it's just like, oh, and I can see there's some men I've given a compliment to in my life that immediately kind of developed a crush on me. And I was just like, I just said something nice about you. Like, what? That doesn't mean you should date me. That's really sweet. But it's just,
don't you try to chase me away.
I love complimenting people in general. Like I have such no filter that if I see someone and I like their shoes or whatever it is, I'm going to say it and just be like, I love your shoes. Those are so cute or whatever. Whether it's a man or a woman, I don't care.
And that's such a great thing too. It's like just be nice to people in general. It's like just give them a compliment once in a while. Hey man, what's going on?
Yeah, and you know I'm telling the truth when I say that too, because I compliment you all the time.
Well, because again, the crush is getting out of control. But it's one of those things where I do appreciate your compliments.
Just be real.
Okay, relax.
It's not my fault you like somebody who's in a secret government bunker. Okay.
There's just something about seeing you behind bars that does it for me. I don't know what to tell you.
I just look really cute in orange.
And behind bars.
Well, okay.
Mostly the bars.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, the compliment things is where you can't claw and scratch at my eyeballs. But it is funny because again,
I wouldn't do that. I would bite you. That's the difference. There's a difference.
That's why I'm not a guard. So it's one of those things where, again, not having compliments sounds really silly and trivial in a lot of ways, but it's one of those things where, because it's something that's like a lifetime experience. And I remember seeing, and this is just going to be a bad example off the top of my head. Well, not a bad example, but I can't cite it. But I remember seeing this crazy video from a trans man, a woman who transitioned to a man, and she's literally breaking down and crying because she feels so like isolated and alone, and she's passing pretty well as a man. First of all, like she has like a goatee, she's wearing a baseball cap, like she passes pretty well, and I would totally believe her without her saying she was transgender. I would totally believe that she was a guy, her whole life. So just seeing that person like break down, like she was crying, and he was crying, And he was just like, I cannot believe like how cold it is being a man. And of course, this is one person's experience. But again, it is one of those things where it's just like, yeah, you sit and it's very easy, and I get it, to just be like, oh, boo-hoo, you don't get told that you have nice hair. And it's like, yeah, it sounds funny, because it does sound funny. But when you think about that, and you think about, imagine that going on for so long that you just don't get that for years and years. Because it's one thing, again, to hear it from like your parents, because like you expect to hear it from them typically. But then imagine if you're not even hearing that from your parents, you know. So like, and you wonder why so many guys grow up to be like these stoic, cold jackasses, you know, because they don't get any warmth given back to them.
Yeah.
You know, which is why I love this modern revolution in the last so many years of like guys just being dudes with each other and like really like supporting each other. And it's like, because that's fucking sweet. And you should always like,
I love
be
seeing
supportive
guys.
of your friends and the good shit they do.
I love seeing guys support each other. It's like almost hot. Like it's like I love men who are just secure in their sexuality and who they are and anything that they can just like say. So like I've seen it before. I've seen it happen before. Like one of my guy friends was like, "Dude, that haircut looks fucking great on you." He's like, "Thanks, man." Like that's the kind of shit I want to see. And like why men need to, like women need to support women.
Yeah.
Men need to support men, and then we support each other. Like I think that.
And then we all go out for Taco Bell.
Yes. This kind of goes right. I love I just thought of your best man speech at your brother's wedding. Just.
Yeah, I read Emma my best man speech. For those that don't know, I read Emma my best man speech at my brother's wedding. That thankfully, he only had to sit through it once, and I look forward to any opportunities in the future to be a best man again. But I don't know if any of those opportunities lie in front of me. If my brother ever has to get remarried again, which hopefully he doesn't, but he is not going to pick me.
See, I was like, no one in my family's gotten married yet, but like, I would hope that if I got like, for example, when I was going to say something totally. Let me stop there. Let me just stop. Start over. I was in my one of my best friend's Devin's weddings. He had 4 groomsmen and then me, and I was wearing the same color dress as the men were wearing, like tuxes. It was kind of a gray color, and that was some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. Because first of all, I was back, when we were all getting ready, it was just me and the boys. And so I was putting all their collages on because they could.
Hell yeah.
I was putting all their collages on because they had the pins. And they had no idea how to make it stay. And I was like, here, let me fucking do that for you. But it was great because when we all go walking down the aisle, I had put my arm out for one of the other bridesmaids when we walked back down the aisle. That was such a great fucking experience. And I made everyone laugh because I took a picture from the head table, which is where we were at, of course. And I was like, yes, peasants, feed me. I was like the royals at this table. I had such a great fucking time. I would love to be somebody's bridesmaid again, but this time, I want to be someone's maid of honor. That would be so much fun. I would be such a good maid of honor. I swear to God. Anyway.
So why don't you hit me with your number 2, and then we'll get on to what we are going to follow up this one. We are going to get back into some movies, but why don't you go ahead and give me your number 2, in no particular order. Again, we tried to each come up with a couple answers, so give me one more. If you could speak to the male population of this planet, what would you say to them?
It's about empathy, I think it's there's men who
hell yeah.
I think it's the answer to a lot of things is people need to have more empathy. People need to be able to put themselves in other shoes in a better way and try to be level-headed about it, because it could very well be, what if you were in this position or something similar? Like, it's my point of that. What I'm going to say without going long-winded about it and just saying it straight to the point. It's not uncool to be woke. I find that there's a lot of men who are like, oh man, these woke people, they make fun of people who are quote unquote woke. And it's like, no. It's not woke to be respectful of women. It's not woke to understand that there's, what rape is. It's not, there's nothing cool or uncool about it. You just need to understand these things because that shows empathy at all. Because what I can't is, I think one of the most unattractive things I've ever heard, and when it was like immediate left swipe if I was on a dating app, was somebody who's like, I'm not interested in politics. I'm apolitical. I'm like, hey, I don't need you to be a fucking CBS fucking newscaster to be able to tell me what, everything that's going on. But I need you to care about some things enough to want to do something about it and to vote. Because it's a matter of especially right now, just with the current of, climate and Roe versus Wade being overturned, women are suffering in masses. And we are absolutely in danger, all of us, because there's so much, like I've said last night, like somewhere there's a 15-year-old girl who was raped by somebody, let's say even a member of her family, and now if she got pregnant, has to keep that baby. Because she is 15 years old and she doesn't have a car, probably she doesn't have anywhere to go. She needs help from her parents, and like the family is going to blame her. And it's just this whole, you're ruining people's lives. You're absolutely destroying any sense of self and self-control that women have over their lives because they want to control women. And so I don't need someone to be even agree with me on the opinion of like what pro-rights or pro-choice, or excuse me, pro-life or pro-choice. I've done that like 3 times this episode now, where I just roll the word.
Nice shot.
Like I don't care if you don't believe in abortion, cool. You know what that still tells me though? That you care enough to at least to care enough to maybe listen to an argument to the opposing. That you care enough to actually pay attention and have an opinion at all, because it's the apathy that I think is going to kill us all. And I think that's more of a message to everyone more than anyone else. But I find men, especially because men can't relate to women being pregnant. They can't relate to that struggle, and they can feel for it. There's a lot of allies we have who are absolutely all pro-choice, because it's my life. This is my body. You're not allowed to tell me what I'm allowed to do with it or not. I don't care what you believe. You believe in I'm going to hell because God does. I don't care. You know what? We don't live in a theocracy. Spoiler alert. Yes, we do. We live in a theocracy. But separation of church and state died sometime in the last 100 years. I don't know when, but it's just one of those.
Emma has been very, very upset about the news of Sleepy Joe dropping out of the election today.
I'm scared because like we already had the assassination attempt on Trump is already bad enough of how that's going to lead people to him. But now we have Biden and all these people talking about he needs to drop out, and it turns out we were all right. Like he did need to, but I will say that man did something for this country. He did what was best for the country and not for him, and I commend him for that. That's the most important thing to learn here. Despite all the toxicity of people going, oh, he needs to just quit. Like, what I'm nervous about is, are we strong enough after the assassination attempt of Trump? Is a black woman strong enough to beat him? And it really does come down to that, because there's going to be people, just like with Barack Obama, they're going to just roll all over her because she's black. Like, the fucking birth certificate debacle, like everything with Obama. I think she can handle it. I think she has a good chance. I think it's just going to be really close. And I think a lot of the future of women depend on it, and a safety of women in this country. Absolutely depends on her becoming president. I'm not sure. I know it's a Supreme Court issue, and it's like she can't just overturn it as once she becomes president. That's not how that works. But still, at least I'll feel finally for the first time having someone in office who at least understands. There's so many things about her I don't like. How we talked about this earlier, how she's handled the prison system in California is atrocious. Like, there's so many things I could go on about, like, why I don't necessarily like her. But you know what? She's absolutely the best shot that we have right now, and I think she's a better choice than Biden, personally. At least she's not 160. You know what I mean? Like, she's fucking at least young enough to kind of understand the millennials and Gen X. I don't know. I just really think that
coherent is sadly the standard that we're looking for right now.
Yeah, but I just know from my own experience, though, that there's some men who, just because it's a new thing and it's like there's pressure from the society to learn these things, like about women's rights and about how women's bodies work, and how politics, like the politics of abortion, pro-life versus pro-choice. There's a lot of men who don't. Like, it's kind of the reason when you hear everybody talking about a video game, or everybody's talking about a movie, and it makes you not want to see it. Like that song, "Hooked on a Feeling," do 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 do. I'm high and believing. I know my brother didn't go see Guardians of the Galaxy for months. He refused to watch it just because he was tired of that fucking song. So don't succumb to that kind of. I feel like that's immaturity. And just like, I want to be cool, and I don't want to be a part of it because it's new, and like, I'm not going to be like, that's just woke bullshit. That's a thing I found. Like, I think it's incorporated with toxic masculinity at this point in our society. And and some people I know and have met, and I've just listened to them talk, going, "Wow, you are so wrong on the wrong side of history with this one, bro. You need to chill out." Just because people are like, quote unquote, shoving it down your throats, doesn't mean that it's wrong. Maybe they're shoving it down your throat because it's something you need to actually fucking listen to and learn, for the betterment of the entire world, let alone you. But that's kind of, I feel like I said that's something that applies to everyone, but I feel like there's a lot of toxic masculinity associated with, being woke, quote unquote. It's just about being empathetic. It's all it is. You're not woke. You just understand that there are other people with other experiences that you don't understand, and that you need to have some kind of, at least you can't have empathy. Try sympathy. That'll work too. Something.
It's also just to jump in. And by the way, 2 very good rants today so far. Very impressive.
Thank you.
I will say that woke as a word has been dead for a little while now.
Yeah.
It used to have some substance to it, but it's just something. It's almost like, I hate to compare it, but like it's almost like calling something racist. Like nowadays, every time you hear the word woke or racist or, I mean, they never seem to really apply correctly. They're terms that people throw out there just because they don't want to engage with something, or because it's remotely, slightly interpreted as something they don't even slightly agree with. Thus, it's woke, or like, oh, I don't like this. It must be Russian disinformation.
Right.
And it's like, or it's woke, or you're just a racist.
You're choosing what to listen to.
Oh.
It's based upon your beliefs. That's called a confirmation bias.
I'm fully in the side of I'm fully of the mindset these past few years that the anti-wokes are just as bad as the woke types nowadays, to the point that I can't stand the word either because it has no meaning. It's been completely blanched. It has no flavor left. There is nothing in the word anymore. Anytime someone just says it, I just roll my eyes.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. There's just, the anti-woke people are just as bad as the woke at this point. And it's like, so many people are fighting against this kind of culture we're living in now, and I just don't understand why. It's like, a lot of this shit would make your life better. You wouldn't even realize it.
I think the fair point that existed that was never really made is that we went from being, because political correctness had its day in the light in the 90s.
Yes.
And it was largely mocked, and it didn't like really last. It was one of those things that became, I mean, even George Carlin had a whole bit on political correctness. It became part of the cultural zeitgeist. People made fun of political correctness. And then now in the 2010s and 2020s, we've kind of massively overcorrected in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we've massively overcorrected in a way that terms like woke became a thing, because people were just like, okay, well, for example, James Gunn, when James Gunn got, quote, canceled because of all the admittedly kind of creepy, pedophile jokes he made, but he was obviously just being edgy and stupid, and they were really old tweets. But people pulled those up because they didn't like him, and they wanted to make a scene out of him, and they did. They succeeded in getting him at least a little bit of a bump in his film career, but now he's recovered and he's fine. And again, it's one of those things where, case in point, and then we're gonna get off of this because we have this whole movie segment to still do, and we're an hour in. So
that's okay.
But case in point. With the Trump assassination, there are motherfuckers making jokes like, oh, too bad he missed. And it's like, listen, to me...
Don't make those fucking kind of jokes. It's so unclassy.
It isn't... To me, it is in bad taste. It is a little tactless. But at the same time, they're jokes. Unless someone is literally saying, oh, I'm going to make sure I'm going to take a shot and it's not going to miss. It's like, yeah, then that guy you can watch.
Be questioned by police. But if it's just like, why was it 2 inches to the left? That's such a fucking low-hanging fruit of a joke, though. Like, I don't like that. Like, come up with something joke.
I mean, here's the
I've seen some of them.
Thing. It's fine. It's fine to just be like, oh well, too bad they missed. It's again not very good politically in terms of a political climate, because I still don't like the idea of political violence or inciting it.
We're reliving the 60s right now.
Joke.
It feels like we're reliving the 60s.
Well, it's funny because I bring it up because a lot of his acolytes are very upset at anybody that made these jokes. And it's like, well, wait a minute, aren't you the no tears crowd? Aren't you the fuck your feelings crowd?
Yeah.
Aren't you the no censorship crowd?
Yep.
And wait a minute, you're getting mad because some edgy leftists are just like, damn, that bullet was just a little too far to the left. You know, it's like, listen, again, tasteless, sure, I'd agree with that. I don't want Trump assassinated.
God, no,
I
then
don't
he
want
would
any
become a
political
goddamn
figure.
martyr. The last thing I want is for him
I
to
don't
be a
want
martyr.
I don't want any major political figure at the moment to be assassinated.
I
because
never
it's
want
just
anyone to
going
be assassinated
bring
like
things
that,
to a
dude.
boil.
I've made jokes about how I wish he was assassinated, which I feel almost bad for. But like, those are jokes.
Nah, don't.
Yeah, I said I almost feel bad.
Don't, because they're jokes. Because they're jokes, and these are the same people that get mad when people get canceled, quote unquote, for making equally like hateful or like nasty jokes about, you know, people they don't like, and then they throw up their flags and they go, "I thought this was America. I don't believe in censorship." Derp, 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 derp. And it's like, listen, it goes both ways, you fuckbag. Now that people are being edgy about Trump and his giant ear tampon, now all of a sudden you want to cancel people, and now all of a sudden you want to tell them that, oh, this is too far. Eat a bag of dicks.
Right.
It's just one of those things where it's like, listen, you
don't care about women.
I've always been a free speech absolutist, meaning if I don't like it, that I'm going to have to deal with it because I believe people should have the right to speak their mind. And that means and that part of that deal is I have to agree to hear things I don't like.
Yeah.
And it's the same concept. It's like, listen, you can't play this whole like, well, the woke culture canceled my favorite celebrity for making a joke that I thought was heckin' cool, man. And then also try to cancel someone for a joke.
Yeah.
It's like, who's the snowflakes now, honey? You know, it's like, it's time to move on. So, and it's time for us to move on before we get into another hour-long political
Yeah, exactly.
debate. But
we're already talking too much politics.
That's okay. It's okay. We'll do a more political-centric episode, definitely. And I certainly don't want to stifle conversation because it is an unprecedented situation. Not unprecedented, but it is a moment going on right now. And again, you know, we can only guess the future, but all that Emma and I will both say to you is, if you're in America, just vote. Just go ahead and vote.
Just fucking
Make sure you vote.
Please vote.
I've been bad about it myself. I'll go ahead and say it. I have not voted in several elections because I've been so burnt out. I never matched with Emma on any dating apps because I probably wrote I'm apolitical because I just don't care on my profile.
Also because you're like 2,000 miles away from me. That usually helps.
Well, yeah, you know, you're not going to show my results really, but you know, the point being, I think that's also a big problem is a lot of people are burnt out because they're so choked by politics.
Oh yeah, I'm burnt out
and
as well,
dude. Not only choked by them, but they also are forced on them when they don't want to see them. So people end up just becoming apathetic, which again is unfortunate. But I think it's not entirely a personal choice too.
Yeah. I think, yeah. So let's move on. Let's go to our. That's a good closing note. I'm not going to add anything to that because I think it's a great way to kind of end that topic.
But go vote.
What are we doing our top 5 today? What are we doing, Brian?
So the top 5 that we discussed, and we are doing the top 5 movie badasses.
Top 3
nobody
is too
from
hard.
Film, nobody from music, nobody from anywhere else. Just movies. As you can tell, Emma likes to just go ahead and talk to the people instead of the male gender. She had to get on her soapbox there for a minute, the son of a bitch. So now, you know.
It was your fucking idea.
No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say, I didn't ask to do it, but I will.
I said speak to the gender. You spoke to everyone. She got on a worldwide soapbox and started preaching about empathy.
It's a problem I have found personally, and I might be wrong here. I'm sure it's a split 50-50, but in my life personally, I found it's more men who say that kind of shit. It's like,
sure.
If you say you're apolitical, what you're saying is you don't care about women's rights and you know, the woman in your life, you're like not, or you're just that oblivious. I get the burnout. I really fucking do. Believe me. I haven't really heard Donald Trump's voice in years. I refuse to listen to him talk. It is too enraging and it's not good for me. And so I just decided like a couple of years ago, maybe, actually it was in the middle of his presidency. I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. I need, my mental well-being cannot handle listening to him talk. It pisses me off too much. It's too upsetting and traumatic almost. Because I'm just like, I can't believe this man who says this shit.
So I'd like to introduce one of the greatest top 5s of all time. My friends say it's the greatest.
Don't
I
even
know it's
do
the
it.
greatest.
Do not. I will fucking stab you. with a spoon. I will figure it out.
Top 5 movie badasses.
Yes.
We are including. We were going to do honorable mentions, but we decided to just round it off as a top 5.
Oh, we did?
Because the more we talked about it.
I thought we were going to do. I thought we were doing the honorable mentions, but okay.
If you have some, go for it. I just have a top 5.
I just have
like
two.
You have a top 5.
I just have 2 really quick.
But you have a top 5,
yes,
right?
Yes, I have a top 5, and I just have 2 honorable mentions.
Yeah, so no problem. Yeah, good. Yeah, no, you're good. You can include some honorable mentions. I narrowed mine down to 5.
Okay.
But we're gonna go ahead and discuss our top 5 movie badasses, and just for whatever reason, they can't be on your list unless you have a reason. You can't just be like, well, they're badasses.
Right.
Then they don't count. So, my number 5 is Frank Castle, played by Thomas Jane in The Punisher.
That's a good one. I didn't even think about that.
I loved the 2004 Punisher movie before Marvel became the juggernaut that it is.
Yeah.
And I loved it because Thomas Jane and his horribly, horribly colored black hair did such a great job as Frank Castle. And I loved how he did a good job of just playing this soulless character who does eventually kind of come around. You know, everybody who knows the Punisher knows the story. He's a former Fed, police officer. His family gets fucking killed, and he becomes, the tropey, the trope of the one-man army against, whoever, the unjust and the villains. And I thought Thomas Jane was so dope as the Punisher, and there was a lot of great fight scenes, including a scene where he actually stabbed somebody by accident. Thomas Jane actually did stab Kevin Nash, who played the Russian, which is a fun little piece of trivia there. And Kevin Nash kept a straight face through the scene until afterwards, where he's like, "I think you stabbed me."
Jesus Christ. I did not know that.
But Frank Castle has always been a badass. And I thought Thomas Jane was a really, really good pick for it. And I think he did a good job. And I think a lot of people liked him because we even got a fan film called Dirty Laundry, which was about the Punisher, and Thomas Jane reprised his role as the Punisher, and it was really good.
Personally, I like
Frank Castle.
Go ahead. I was say personally, my favorite version of Frank Castle is obviously John Bernthal, but that's a TV show.
Oh, so is mine.
Okay.
So is mine.
Because
I fucking love the shit out of John Bernthal, but he got a lot more screen time, I think.
Wasn't his hand broken? Like, he broke his hand in the second season or something like that, and he was just still doing stunts and punching people and shit because he's an absolute monster.
I wouldn't be surprised. John Bernthal is a demon, so I would not be surprised.
John Bernthal's like so.
But Frank Castle, number 5 for me. Emma, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is Captain America in Endgame when he gets Thor's hammer. That scene, because you remember back in Age of Ultron, he goes to try to pick it up and it squeaks, and
Spoilers!
Thor just.
If you haven't seen the Avengers by now, you don't deserve a spoiler warning.
Exactly. Fuck that. I'm sorry. I don't give a shit. Like, if you haven't seen it, then go watch it.
Fuck you. Signed Emma.
A Disney Plus subscription is like $6, dude. Like, studies. Go to your homework.
Man, fuck Disney.
Go to your homework. But
pirate
in Age of Ultron, which is one I think is genuinely of the Avengers movies, obviously besides Infinity War and Endgame. I think of all the Avengers films, it's my favorite one, and it was the one that was least liked, but I love it. I also I love James.
I liked it.
I love James Spader as Ultron. His voice. I wouldn't fuck James.
Yeah.
I would not fuck James Spader. I would fuck his voice. If I can say that.
I would fuck James Spader as
like,
long as he talked to me.
I have a friend who was like, I would never. I have a friend who was like, I would never fuck Kesha, but I would fuck her voice, and I was like, I understand that completely. There's a sentiment there, but I'm not even talking about Age of Ultron. I'm talking about like that was foreshadowed in Age of Ultron, and then in Endgame when that hammer starts rising. I will never forget the sounds that the movie theater made when it started going, and we saw it, and it like the scream that people came out when he catches it. Oh my god. And then my favorite part of that too is like later, like, no, you get the little one, give me the X, and like they just switch out. They have to switch weapons, so you get the little one. But that's just one of those moments.
And aside from that, he sets his bone, and then he literally walks out by himself towards Thanos' army because he's gonna die out there.
Yep.
Because again, it's just classic Captain America.
Fucking gangster.
And Chris Evans was awesome. Yeah, and Chris Evans has been awesome as him. and it's been full of nothing but just like
Oh, how I
it's been
cried.
full of nothing but just badass
I
moments.
cried harder at the end of Endgame than I did when everyone died in Infinity War, because it was like, oh my God, if there's ever a man that would deserve to just live his life peacefully with a woman he loved, and you see him dancing with her, I'm almost crying right now just talking about it. Like when you see him dancing with her at the end, like, oh, because it was just so happy and so bittersweet, because you know he's not coming back, and it's like, he deserved that so much.
That hit me hard. That hit me harder than Tony. I'm not gonna
It
lie.
did. Me too. Me too. Tony's death was absolutely
And I
devastating.
love Tony's arc, and it's
Oh, it's
close.
perfect. It
And
was a
I
beautiful,
definitely got a little sad.
beautiful
I
story
definitely
arc.
got sad for Tony. I definitely got
I
teary
love,
eyed for Tony.
I
But
love Iron Man 3.
Cap did it.
Oh yeah, I love Iron Man 3 and Iron Man 2 for that reason too, because they do a very good job of portraying what PTSD is like. Because after the first Avengers
Yeah.
movie, he has PTSD because he almost fucking died trying to bring this bomb through like a hole in space. No shit, he has fucking trauma. And like and it just goes. One of my favorite comic books actually of Iron Man is that there's a point where he literally just has a flask built into his suit because he's such an alcoholic. Um, it's like he goes through this whole arc though, the fact that he got to have a family though, and then like I Love You 3000, that made me cry, but nothing made me cry harder than the end with Chris Evans getting to dance with his love. Like, oh my God, it was so romantic and so, like I said, bittersweet. But I think the best moment, to get back to the point, which is the badass moment, is when he catches that fucking hammer. There's nothing cooler than that. There's nothing in those movies that's going to be a bigger moment for me, because it's just like, that's what we all knew it was coming, but like didn't at the same time. And I just still watch that going, holy shit. And just to cover one of my, just very, very quick second to cover my honorable mention. My number 5 was between that and Thor in Ragnarok, when he comes down to Immigrant Song, like doom, and he's just flying through the air to the bridge. That's fucking badass too. But it was between those two, but I chose Cap.
Nope. Very good choices. Very good choices.
So what's your number 4?
Was Thor one of your honorables?
Yeah, Thor was one of my honorables. That's what I was saying. It was between Cap and Thor for that spot.
Okay, I didn't hear you say honorable. Okay.
That was my honorable mention, was Thor and Ragnarok, but I decided Cap hitting the hammer was much, much more important. So
I do like that you're picking the moments as well.
yeah, like that's not just the character in the movie. It's like there's like you said specifically why, and I was like, here's a scene. This is exactly why. Like I already thought they were a badass clearly, but then they did this thing, and I was like, okay, you get top ranked of all time, like complete badass. Anyway, so what's your number 4?
My number 4
I'm going on
is a
today.
man named Vin. My number 4 is a man named Vin Diesel in a movie series called Riddick, playing the titular character of Riddick.
I've never seen the Chronicles of Riddick.
Have you ever seen any of them? Pitch Black, Riddick, or Chronicles of Riddick?
Nope. You said Vin Diesel, though. Vin Diesel, I already get it.
I'm going to keep it kind of short because I think that's something that you need to watch. Because the Riddick films are not super great. They're not going to change your life. But the character makes all of them. And I believe his full name is Richard B. Riddick. But either way, he's just known as Riddick. And he is essentially a murderer, a warrior, and the last of his people. And
that part I knew.
It's a very fun, very dark, space drama kind of setting. And Vin Diesel does a great job playing Riddick, who essentially, again, is also empathetic because, again, he is the last of his race. And he is one of these, like, he's that typical anti-hero. Like, he's not out there, fucking killing people that don't deserve it. He's literally just, hunted by mercs because he's got a big price tag on his head. And he just has a lot of badass moments. And in the most recent one, which I think was just called Riddick, there's a couple of really great moments, including, so he's got some great one-liners too, where he basically tells the guy, he goes, "I'm going to kill you with your machete. I'm going to cut your head off and drop it right in this box." And he is chained. Right. And it's like, and then he does it. And it's like, and it's in a great moment. And But either way, I don't want to explain. I'll explain for the audience that Riddick just has a very cool kind of way of talking. He has a very smooth kind of operator kind of thing. But he's also, again, he's almost like a predator, an animal like predator in like a human body.
That's
Because
cool.
there's a lot of scenes of him throughout the show of interacting with animals and getting along with them, just because he just has like this animal kind of mentality.
Okay, that's kind of cool. That sounds cool.
And you would really like the first one too, because the first one, which is just called Pitch Black, actually it wasn't about him. It was a horror movie. It was a sci-fi horror movie, somewhat in the vein of Aliens, just with a little less sexual tension, we'll call it, where the aliens were just, slowly engrossing upon them and just killing them off one by one. And Riddick was a prisoner who was being transported, and he became super popular. And Vin Diesel also fucking loves the character.
Yeah,
that's why
it sounds like a great fucking character.
It's fun. Like I said, it's not going to change your life, but it's fun. And you even get Carl Urban in a couple of those movies too. So there's some good. You get some good act. Judi Dench is in the second one too, randomly. But there's a couple people floating around those films. But they're enjoyable. They're fun. And Riddick definitely has that Frank Castle anti-hero kind of vibe where like he's not a good man, but he's a good man.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He's honorable,
but he's
not
morals,
a good man.
His own values. Like, I think that's more...
Kinda.
I think it might be...
He's
chaotic
not a good
evil.
man, he's just honorable.
Right, chaotic... I think chaotic good is the best way to describe that.
Yeah, chaotic good would probably be the best way to go about it. But go ahead, give us number 3.
No, I'm still on number 4.
Oh, I thought you were on number 3. Go ahead.
No, because I said Cap and Thor. Like that was between the two.
That's because you doubled up already. That's why.
That was my honorable mention.
So
I have it listed right here. I'll take a picture and show you, bitch.
It's your fault. I get it. So go ahead. Number 4.
Number 4. I'm so glad you mentioned Carl Urban, because I'm going with Dredd, specifically the.
Fuck you.
I know. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm going to spoil mine ahead, but I'm going to let you finish. But I have Dredd at number 3. So I'll just say I have Dredd at 3.
So
correct. So I'm gonna be nice and efficient and say, go ahead, tell me what you like about it.
Okay, I'll say what I'm thinking, then you can go, because that's your number 3. So I won't go on too long.
No, go ahead. You tell me what you want, and I'll fill in some of the blanks if there's anything you don't say.
Carl Urban, I have never in my life seen someone who could wear a helmet the entire film that shows nothing besides his mouth and still be able to emote perfectly. You can tell what he's feeling every single time, and he doesn't change his face. Like, you can just get this feeling from him. Absolutely, that's just an actor badass moment. But I think the moment that I was like, okay, this is one of the coolest movies ever. Like, it's so underrated. It's criminally underrated. More people need to know about it, and I want a fucking sequel. His speech to Mama when and he gets on the loudspeaker after, like, toward the end of the movie, and just like,
Mama is not the law.
I am the law.
I am the law.
Yes. I was like, because I love Lena Headey in that role. I was torn between putting Dredd on this list or Lena Headey in that role in Mama, because oh my fucking god, she's so gangster. There's my point where she's scolding a man who is like at least a foot or two taller than her. She's like, do you understand me? Yes. Do you fucking understand? She does that head snake move where it's just, I will absolutely kill you kind of a move. And I was fucking so scared of her in that movie. She's an absolute monster. She's so good, dude. But Carl Urban is Dredd, and that was just everything where he's like everything he says in the whole movie is fucking quotable. Yeah, but especially that scene, and then toward obviously the end scene with Mama and they face off. The punishment is death. And she's wearing that fucking pacemaker. I don't even know. What is your opinion?
Defense noted.
Yes, thank you. Defense noted. Yeah, definitely. What's your thoughts on it? What do you think? Let me hear.
So one of the things I also love about Dredd that also makes him a badass is that it's really easy to just do the totally stoic, awesome, badass character, which is definitely what Dredd in this movie is. But there's still a heart under there, and you can tell because, I love the resolution of the film because for those that haven't seen it, he's actually mentoring a new judge named Anderson, who is actually also. I want to say she's like the second main character in the Dredd comics. She's a
psychic.
Yeah, so she's a psychic, and I'm not going to explain the whole Dredd lore to you. If you've ever heard of Judge Dredd, you know about it. And if you haven't, don't watch the Sylvester Stallone movie. Watch the 2012 movie Dredd.
You do not need to see the original movie to fucking love it. Fuck the original movie.
You don't need to see it. It's corny. It's fine for what it is, but Dredd was the definitive one.
Absolutely.
And what I love is the fact that, he's not so by the law that it completely rules him, because even at the end he passes her because he saw that despite what she went through, that she's 100% cut out for this. She lost her gun, she got taken, but then she killed the fuck out of her captors and she saved him.
Yeah.
So it's like she's got what it takes, and I love the fact that not only can he just be an absolute fucking violent badass, but the fact that he can also just be like, I remember, what does she say? She says something to him along the lines of just like, I want to make a difference in the world. You think you can do that? And she's like, I do think I can. He just kind of grunts and goes, admirable.
Yeah, like, admirable. So great. Wait, what
he's
was
at
your
least
number
got
4?
a personality.
What was your
under
number 4
there.
again?
My number 4 was Riddick.
Thank you. Okay, I was just writing it down because I was trying to remember. Okay.
Yeah, number 4 was Riddick,
so
and we'll put all 3 of those movies on a. We'll put all 3 of those movies on a list of things that we'll have to watch at some point, because I think you'll enjoy Riddick.
I'm sure I will. It's never been something I didn't watch because it looked bad. It's just that it's the same reason I didn't watch Back to the Future until like a few years ago when I was an adult, like in my 30s. It was
traitor.
It was just It was something that I just didn't have exposure to for some reason. My family, people showed me all these great movies when I was a kid, and film school showed me all these great movies, but I never saw Back to the Future until I was like 30, and I watched all 3 of them in a row. My favorite Back to the Future is the third one because I'm a contrarian bitch like that. But
I enjoy a Western, so I really love the third one too.
Yes, same. Westerns are some of my favorite films. But yeah, so
Dredd is a total badass. Definitely see Dredd if you haven't seen Dredd before.
My 4 is
There's
Dredd.
even rumblings that Carl Urban might get to play him again, possibly in a TV show,
Please,
but we don't know. So hopefully it needs to come back. It really does need to come back. The premise for the movie
was just so good too. Like they're in a block that's completely shut down. It's perfect setup for like the whole story and like how everything is like in this sandbox kind of a deal, It's fucking.
And then also just to illustrate, and then one more bit actually, you just reminded me to illustrate Dredd being like a good character and not just some wall of badass. When they come into the building in the beginning, there's like a homeless guy begging, so. He's testing Anderson and he tells you, so what do we do about this guy? Oh, vagrancy, 10 days in the cubes or whatever. And she just goes, but prioritize, other crimes. And Dredd just goes, agreed. Don't be here when we come back, so it's like the guy's literally not walking around with a boner for justice. He is out there with a boner for justice, let's be honest, but not to the degree that he can't at least also be a good character. But anyways, enough jerking Dredd off, because Dredd is amazing. But
it's just delicious.
So at number 2, I'm going to give number 2 because you
my number 3.
You had
I haven't said my number 3
Yeah, go number
yet.
3. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say you're getting all loopy with what the numbers were. Like I did the first episode.
I'm just getting sick of hearing you. Jesus, you're just going on all these rants today, and you just won't shut up. And it's like, jeez. You know what? We're going. No, you know what? Rewind. We're going back to the previous thing. My thing to all women: shut up.
And
was that controversial enough?
We just lost every female listener that we ever had. We just betrayed my gender.
If you're taking me seriously, just don't.
Yeah.
So
no.
Go ahead. Number 3. Yeah.
Number 3 for me. Okay, is a certain little film called Mad Max Fury Road. And the character that I think is the most
Lame.
badass, the thing that there's like, oh my god, is obviously fucking
I'm
Furiosa.
just kidding. That film's awesome.
Furiosa is the fucking shit, dude. Oh my god. At the same time, right when that came out, my head was shaved. Like, I had a mohawk, and I have the same bone structure as Charlize Theron. It was a little too long by the time Halloween rolled around, but I was like, fuck, I would have been awesome as a Furiosa. She's so fucking badass. Like you don't even need a backstory about her. You have no idea everything that she's been through, and that's the point. It's all fucking insinuated, and you can tell this woman has been through absolute hell. At the very least, at first, because she has a fucking missing arm, and she has that robotic arm. Specifically, the part that I think is the most badass is when she's fucking says, "Remember me," and just grabs the fuck and just yanks the motherfucker Immortan Joe's face off. Oh my god. And she's half dead at that point. She has this big stab wound in her side and she almost fucking died. But she still manages to get him. Oh my god. And everything, the whole scene too with her and Tom Hardy having that fight scene over the gun. And then like that 3 bite, that whole choreography in that scene. That whole movie is just absolutely badass. It's just one big long chase scene. And I love it. I had a friend once that was saying like, you have to, you gotta watch it in black and white. Like, change your TV settings to like so it's only black and white. It's a whole different experience. It's like it changes the tone of the movie almost. It's so fucking cool. But yeah, I think Charlize Theron in that movie, she's been a badass in plenty of things, like Atomic Blonde, right? And like she's just been the most incredible female actress in action for a long time. And I think that movie though is her absolute best. Even more than Monster. She already won an Oscar for Monster years ago. No, was it Monster? It's the one where it's about Eileen Woodrose.
I can't remember.
She plays Eileen.
Yeah, I can't remember. I'm not good for that.
She plays Eileen Woodrose and depicts the serial killer. She's not a badass in the movie. It's just, she's just kind of hot. And that's a joke because they purposely made her look ugly. But anyway,
you and your jokes.
One of my favorite badass moments in the entirety of Mad Max, though, was just the dude with the fucking flame-throwing guitar, and they're chasing him, just flame goes in the air. I was like, okay, I want that man at my birthday parties.
Come on, you know his name. Come on, you have to know. What's his name?
I don't know.
You don't know his name?
No, the one that does the flame-throwing guitar?
Yeah, he's got one of the funniest names in the universe.
I didn't fucking know. What's his name?
He is called the Doof Warrior, Doof.
Doof Warrior.
The Doof Warrior.
That's really
and
funny.
Fun fact: the guy who played the Doof Warrior is married to the redhead of the women that get rescued.
Oh, that's cool.
They met on set, and he was just like, "I want me some of that," and now they're married.
Cute. I like it. All right, so now you can tell us what's your number 2.
How adorable. They met in the post-apocalyptic wasteland.
I think that's sweet.
But yes, Mad Max, solid choice.
Thank you.
My number two, since we're doing female empowerment, is also a woman.
Sarah Connor was
Beatrix Kiddo.
Beatrix Kiddo is fucking great. That's a great fucking choice. I was between Charlize Theron for that and Sarah Connor, and I was just like, no, I think Charlize Theron beats her on that one because Sarah Connor's badass as fuck. But I think there's a lot of the cool thing.
Sarah Connor would have been one of my honorables.
Yeah, it's just there's. I was really realizing through this, like there's a lot of badass women in film because like at least at one point half my list was just women. So, but anyway,
it's almost like when they're just women and just characters and not superheroes, they're pretty awesome.
Yeah, exactly. But Beatrix Kiddo is the ultimate. Like, which one's your favorite, 1 or 2?
Decline to answer because I see them as one extended movie. I honestly do.
I kind of do too.
And I love both films. I really don't know which one I would pick over the other. I guess if I was really pushed, maybe the first one, but I don't even know why I'm saying that. I would need to think on it a lot more. But Beatrix Kiddo, The Bride,
yes,
Uma Thurman in Kill Bill 1 and 2. She's fantastic, and she is one. I mean, it's again the trope of the one man, or in this case, the one woman army. She's completely betrayed by those that she thought were family, and now she's on a murder spree. And
Fuck yeah.
it is Tarantino, so there's a lot of feet, there's a lot of toes, and there's a lot of style. And it's one of those movies that does a really good job of illustrating that not only is it realistic that she's a badass, because she's had all this training, you know, she's had all of this, you know, this life as an assassin, but it's just she's doing it all for herself. And then in the second one, we find out at the very end she's doing it for her daughter, you know, and she finds out at the very end that she's doing it for her daughter, because the whole thing is that really it's about her daughter being dead until she finds out, right? So, but yeah, fantastic fight scenes. My favorite scene with her in the kill, I will say, since you kind of bullied me into picking one or two, I will say, even though I'm inclined to say that one is my favorite, two has my favorite scene, which is the eye snatch, where she just fucking blinds that bitch. Kind of like the second level of payback. Not only did her master blind her in one eye, but now she blinds her in the other eye, you know, for being a traitorous whore. The stupid jerk she is, you know, and fucking,
right,
you know, but that was my favorite scene. And I love how she just like fucking drops the eyeball. And because it's
it's such a gangster
because it's
moment.
Tarantino, she has to squish it between her little toes.
Squish.
And it's like, Jesus.
Yeah, between
Quentin,
the toes.
can you relax? Like, just the feet. Can we, Quentin, just Jesus Christ. But
just chill the fuck out.
Fucking thirsty ass hoe. Fucking Quentin Tarantino. But anyways, Beatrix Kiddo, my number two. I don't have any honorable mentions, so why don't you go ahead? Who is your deuce? Who is number two?
Well, my deuce is a little movie called Predator.
Never heard of it.
And it's really everybody in that movie.
She's cheating again. Like, no, I'm just kidding.
Dylan, son of a bitch, and then like that clapped. I love
Everybody
that
got a little testosterone boost from that
specifically.
Scene.
Exactly. I love that fucking movie so much. I've watched it so many times. I watched it once on acid. That was really fun.
Jesus Christ.
And then I had never seen the second one, and right after it, I watched the second one, and I was laughing my tits off. I swear to God. It's Predator 2 is the most unintentionally funny movie. I was dying. I can't, like, when the concrete jungle in LA, I was like, oh, shut up. So my second, though, is Arnold, though, in the original Predator. Specifically for the scene of...
Yeah, the come at me bro moment.
Yes, there's no way you can top that. I'm sorry. Like, and how he's by himself and he just makes all these weapons and shit. Oh my God.
Come on, kill me. Kill me, I'm right here. Kill me.
I'm right here. Oh my God. He's the only person who could come over. Like, Bill Burr's whole bit about him is so fucking great.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like, he came over here, married American royalty, became a governor. Bam, he did that.
This guy's been in the zone for 4 decades.
4 decades. Gold digging horse.
Here comes the incel side of Emma coming out again.
Oh my God, I don't have to explain why he's number two, because like it's one of the greatest of all times. It was, for me, I was struggling between keeping Arnold on the list or putting Sarah Connor from T2. I couldn't decide, but I eventually I was like, which one is the more prominent culture influencing badass? Like, and I was like, clearly the answer there is Arnold and Predator. Because there's not one part of that movie, the music to the whole thing, like, I'ma have me some fun. When he's yelling that, like, oh my God. The whole movie is just full of absolutely badass moments. And Carl Weathers, bless his heart, rest in peace. Just excellent in that movie. There's not a moment of that movie that I'm not completely just, like, every single second of it, I'm like, I'm a man.
Emma's just like, is this what it's...
I can feel my testosterone.
Emma's like, is this what it's like to have a penis? I feel great.
Exactly. Is this what it's like to have more... Wow, I think I have a boner for this movie
My
right
metaphysical
now.
penis is standing at attention.
And it's 24 inches long, so that's a running joke between my friends.
That's a little much. You might actually suffer some brain damage with that much blood loss.
Probably, but you know what? It's a metaphysical penis, so it doesn't actually, have like blood loss. So like that helps. This is actually a joke that goes my back all the way to high school. I don't even remember the inception of the joke. I think it was that I said I remember what it was. My friend Rachel had a dream about me because I had made a joke about just like that. Like we just did. I made a joke about having a 24-inch phantom cock, completely just to a side comment. It was just a stupid joke and nobody even noticed it. But then my friend Rachel had a dream that I had lost it and we were all looking for it in the bushes and shit. I just thought that was I don't remember how it ended, but I remember thinking it was one of the greatest things ever, and it was hilarious. And so from that point on, it became a whole thing with my friends. M's 24-inch phantom cock again and again. So I think I grew that just from watching Predator as many times as I have. I think that's the only reason it's 24 inches, because I've watched that movie so many goddamn times. Anyway, enough about my penis. Brian, on to your first choice. What's your number one slot? I'm
this
really
conversation about Arnold turned into Emma just complimenting her gigantic girl cock. Good job, Emma.
Yeah, it's a phantom cock. Get it right.
It's still not real.
Yes, it is. It's
you
only
can,
real. It's only not real if you decide. You have to believe like Santa Claus.
I rest my case. So number one is don't combine conversations about 24-inch penises with music that everybody knows from Home Alone. You're ruining Home Alone for a lot of people right now. My number one is America's favorite police officer, John McClane. McClane.
Oh, that was originally on my list too, but I was like, nah, it's too basic. I want to go with some other ones that are like, I really are my list. But John McClane is ho, ho, ho. I don't
even get to explain it before she calls my pick basis. Listen, bitch, I'm trying to explain why I think he's a badass.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize that there's so much more. There's so much more you could say. Don't even fuck with me. You know how gullible I am.
I'm trying to explain why John McClane is a badass, and she's like, what a basic pick. And I was just
this is my episode. This is mine. This is all my fucking rants this episode.
All I have to say is the lion, the witch, and the audacity of my co-host. John McClane was really hard. John McClane was really hard to dethrone because I had him on the list at number one right away. And just the more I thought about it I was like, I just can't take him off the list because he's been a badass in every movie that he's played John McClane, except for the last one, which doesn't exist. But
no, it doesn't exist. I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a reason that Die Hard is a timeless action film because it's just so pure. The villain is perfect. The hero is perfect. His story is perfect. It just everything about the film is just so well done. Alan Rickman. Carl Weathers, right? Am I getting it? I feel like I'm gotten. No, not Carl Weathers. Jesus Christ, what's his fucking name? No, that's fucking Creed. I remember. Jesus Christ, the cop. I feel like an asshole now. The fucking cop.
I know who you're talking about, though. I think everyone knows. Like, if you've seen Die Hard, you understand. Yeah. It's definitely not Carl Weathers, though. I was like, what? No, that was the last movie we talked about.
Yeah, that's like I said, I had Carl Weathers in my head, and I was like, no, that's not, no. Reginald Vell Johnson. No. Reginald Vell Johnson.
Okay.
He played Al Powell. And he was great, too. Okay. And he was fucking wonderful. Everybody was great. Even Holly's actress, she was great. But then it all comes back to John, who's a guy who's very much a well-developed character. You see a little bit of who he is on the plane. He's a little, he's a New York guy. He's a little bit of a wise ass. He talks with the guy on the plane. Trust me, I've been a cop. He throws it. I've been doing this for 9 years. Throws it back in his face. Him and his wife. He's trying to kind of make things right. He hasn't been good to her. He kind of fucks up. You see him talking in the mirror. Oh, good job, John. Way to go. Real mature, and it's like, you really get a feel for who he is. And it's like, okay, this is a guy I can get invested in. He loves his wife enough that he's out here. He's pantsed. He knows he fucked up. He's trying to make it right. And then he ends up in this ridiculous situation. And I don't need to explain Die Hard to you. You all know it. But I just love, let's face it. That scene where he's sitting over the sink, pulling glass out of his feet. It is the worst scene that you can't see anything happening because everybody's just hearing him pick glass out of his feet as he's trying to distract himself. And it's just like, this fucking badass is not giving up. He's not going to stop. He's going to save his wife. He's going to stop these motherfuckers. And I honestly love Die Hard with a Vengeance so much as well. And for similar reasons, because McClane is just this ruthless, unkillable, fucking just pain in the ass who just keeps showing up. And I just love him because, again, I think he's a developed character. He's a fun character. And he just feels like he could be a real person. You know, he just feels like he could be a real detective. You know, this guy who's just so fucking beaten and hardened. And you know, he's like a lot of people. You know, he's just trying to... He's fucked up his relationship a little bit. He's trying to rescue it. You know, he's doing the typical thing, you know, but I love John McClane. I think he's the ultimate badass, but that's because I think he's just such a well fleshed out character. And I mean, come on, how do you pick a badass moment? Because you've been picking moments. I mean, I don't know how you, I think chucking a chair covered in C4 down a fucking elevator shaft to prove your point is pretty fucking badass.
That is pretty fucking great. I love that movie. I get into arguments all the time over whether that's
which
a
is the
Christmas movie or not, and
stupidest
it
argument
absolutely
on the
is.
face of the internet because it's a Christmas movie. There's no arguments against it. Everybody only ever argues why. I want to see someone why they argue against it, and they're never correct.
No, I absolutely agree. It's a fucking Christmas movie. It's also an action movie. I don't understand why people don't get that can be both. It's a Christmas movie.
If Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, neither is Home Alone. Get fucked.
Absolutely, 100% right.
Because Home Alone ain't about Christmas. It
Get
just
the fuck
happens to
out.
take place on Christmas. Wise ass.
I just feel like that, those people like who say like it's not a Christmas movie are the same people who bitch about like Han didn't shoot first. And it's like, yes, he absolutely
Because Han's
did.
a badass.
That's another debate. Exactly. Who was also at one point almost on my list. I also had Princess Leia in there, and I was like, no, there's some bigger badasses on here than Princess Leia, although she is a complete
So the
badass.
moment that Emma and I sat down and discussed this script and went over what we were going to talk about in every section, and as soon as I described this list to her, I said, okay, your number one is, and I gave her answer, and it's not changed. I guarantee it. So
No,
go
you
ahead.
didn't.
I didn't give her the answer. I just said it because I knew what it was going to be, because she is a super fan.
No, what happened was I stupidly was like, instead of just keeping my mouth shut, I was on the phone with you and I went, oh, I don't know how I didn't think of it. I know exactly what my first one's going to be. And you were like, oh yeah. And then you guessed it. And I was like, we spent, 25 minutes talking about between Twisters and Aliens in the first 25 minutes of the show. And now the back half's going to be about Aliens too, because my number one obviously is Ripley from Aliens. She's obviously, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's the most badass bitch of all time. The first movie, this is what it is. If you boil it down to a nutshell, it is a movie about a female scientist who none of her crew listened to, and then they all fucking die except for her and her cat. 5 stars. That's the most fucking realistic, most amazing feminist script I've ever read in my life.
Outstanding wine on take.
Exactly. But, dude,
no,
when
I've
named a moment for each... I've named a bunch of these characters, and every single one I've had, like, here's a moment that I was like, that's fucking it. She is, first of all, in Predator films, it's always somebody different who's the protagonist, because they end up either killing the protagonist or, like, you know, you have no hope of whether they're getting out. Aliens, though, all the way through the 4th one, Sigourney Weaver was in all 4 of those films. It's just like, she's almost like a version of John McClane, where she just can't be fucking beaten. But the second one specifically, and I think we all know what I'm going to say here, get away from her, you bitch! Like, oh my God, I've made whole videos talking about that, the feeling that gives me every time. Because, like I said before, I'm not a mother, but I have always had extremely maternal instincts, like extremely strong maternal instincts. It just happens. It's like whenever I watch a movie and there's a kid in it, I get immediately extra nervous and go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, I freak the fuck out. Like, it's one of those things that I just am. I wish I wasn't so sensitive like that, but it happens. So when this poor little girl who's been traumatized beyond belief, and she's funny and like really smart actually, and very resourceful, this amazing little girl, I would not be able to help myself either. I wouldn't be able to not fall in love, because even before the get away from her, you bitch, the whole fucking place is exploding. It's gonna have a nuclear meltdown. Okay. And this little girl is off somewhere because aliens took her. And fucking Ripley, what does she do? She gets every fucking gun she could find. She tapes the guns together. Like fucking, she knows what she's doing. And she is not leaving there without that fucking little girl. And then as they're leaving, when she fucking finds her, of course she finds her because it's Ripley. Like, come on. Then they walk into the nest by accident. That silence in that scene, it's priceless. Like, you can't, like, you can hear a pin drop when you realize where she is. And then she makes that decision because one of the eggs opens and she's like, okay, bitch, we're done. And just flame throws the whole fucking nest, including the queen. Oh my God. And then she kisses the girl and runs out with her baby. Like, there's never been a more powerful woman in film, in my personal opinion. Like, she is an absolute badass. And then they get up there and the queen alien's coming, and instead of thinking about herself or anything else, the first thing she does, thinking they're gonna die, is close your eyes, baby. Like, there's something about that that's badass to me, because her first thought is of this little girl, and she knows she's gonna die too. Like, just doesn't want her to look. Like, that's her dying thought. And then, of course, you get back on the spaceship. Bishop saves them and whatnot, and they go back to not the Nostromo. The Nostromo is the first one. I can't remember the name of the ship in the second one that they come off of, but they go back up there and, like, yeah, get away from her, you bitch. And she's in the fucking power loader, just absolutely decimating this goddamn bitch. Like, so amazing. What I do love now, though, is that the Queen Alien is now a Disney princess, or a Disney queen.
Isn't it the Sulaco? Is that what it's called?
The Sulaco. Yeah. Thank you. I just was blanking on it. Thank you for looking that up for me.
I was like, I know what it is too, and it was going to bother me, so I had to look it up.
Yeah, I've heard it. My brain sometimes I just like brain fart on little things like that, but I know what I'm talking about. I've already been going on about 5 minutes about this. She is the absolute ultimate badass, especially in the third one. The third one, she's even more, but somehow manages to be even more badass, because she's in a fucking prison with a bunch of men who are like serious offenders, like murderers, rapists, and shit like that. And she just boldly walks. She doesn't give a fuck. She just walks into the cafeteria, just tries to eat her food with all of them. She's a little nervous, you can tell, but for the most part, she's like, yeah, fuck all of you. Like, and then the scene, though, when there's an attempted rape, and a couple of the other prisoners save her, and like, after he's gotten his beat down, she just gets one more punch in on this fucker who tried to grab her. She's an absolute beast, dude. And let's just not even talk about Resurrection with the backwards fucking swish in the basketball net, where she just throws that shot. That was real. That's my favorite part about it. I remember reading that. That was Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney Weaver. There's a behind the scenes footage where you see Ron Perlman in the background, and she just goes, and Ron Perlman's like, holy shit, you can just see him just fucking losing it. And like Sigourney Dever Break's character, she doesn't smile, she just keeps going. And I was just like, that's so fucking gangster. How could you think anything else? How could you think that any one would be anything else? I'm sorry, that's my fucking answer. And we're done.
You got more than your fair share of rants in today. I'm very proud of you. Good job.
I did. Thank you.
I even cut you off at least 3 times just to reel you in a little bit.
Yeah, you had to. I'm just excited talking about this. You came up with such great questions and such great idea for top 5. So like, I don't know. I've usually, like I said, like I tend to be opinionated, but not always as opinionated as you on things. But like today, I was like in a mood and I was just feeling it. I guess. I don't know. I wasn't doing it on purpose. I was just talking because I like talking to you and you're my best friend. But
okay, relax over there, you.
No.
Yeah, relaxing would not be you. That's true.
That's our top 5, though.
That is the top 5, and we will certainly we'll do a little bit more. I know everybody loves politics, so there'll be a little warning, but we'll definitely do a little more discussion about that next, because it was breaking news today, and we weren't going to change the script. We figured we'd probably throw some of that in the beginning, because Joe did step down from the presidential nomination, and we had Trump's assassination, we had Hulk Hogan at the RNC, we just had a whole fucking idiocracy of a week, and I'm gonna go ahead and just go ahead and say it outright. Greatest moment in American history. I've never laughed any harder, and I don't know what's ever going to top Hulk Hogan hulking out at the RNC. It is my perfect blend of chaos and insanity and absurdity, and it's just the greatest, and I cannot wait. Cannot wait to see what is next in this bizarre timeline we are in.
Did you see the meme? Did you see the meme I posted about the Babadook being another speaker?
I do see memes from you occasionally, and I did see that one. You unhinged woman, you.
I am a devious jackass. That is my favorite.
I have heard you referred to as a devious jackass before. That is a good name for you.
Yeah, I mean, because you might have been the one who said it.
I'm always really polite to you. I don't know what makes you think I would have called you that.
Okay, we'll pretend. We'll pretend
she just thinks I'm mean all the time. I don't get it. I never said that once. You're so weird.
You're not mean. You're just an asshole sometimes, but you're my kind of asshole, so it's good. I'm the same kind of asshole. Sort of.
Well, I guess we're just going to have to date then. So, anyways, strictly unrelated podcast. Ended podcast stretch. Thank you, everybody, for watching, listening. You're not watching anything, you're listening. And we'll be back very soon. We have at least...
We should get some webcams going.
We have at least 3 slated potential guests. So we're or 4, at least 4, I think, off the top of my head, I'm thinking of potential guests. So you're going to start seeing some guests popping up here and there. So if you're getting sick of us, just hang around. You're going to get some more. You're going to get a third wheel episode here and there. And we hope you're having fun. And I hope, again, we're almost at the very end of July. It's hot as balls here in New England. And
I'm in Arizona. That's all I need to say. Fuck you.
I'm up here.
Fuck you and you think you're supposed heat.
I'm up here with swamp ass, and Emma's down there with dry ass. So, there you go.
No, I'm not. It's all swamp ass too. It's fucking 115 degrees. You think I'm not sweating like a bitch?
But you guys don't got the humidity nearly as bad, right? You guys get a lot of dry heat, though, I thought.
It's been humid. It's been humid
that
lately,
sucks.
and
Fuck
the problem
that.
is, it's like you can't sit. It's 115 degrees outside. You also can't sit out there and be outside for very long, or you're gonna get a heat fucking exhaustion.
Yeah, no, it's amusing how you're in a place with heat exhaustion, and I'm in a place with cold weather advisories that have canceled my classes before when I was in college.
Exactly. Yeah, it's never been that cold here. I think in the history of Arizona, it snowed here once, like in a freak storm, like in 1856.
And 39 people probably died.
Probably, considering it was 1856.
Well,
There's a million ways to die in the West.
They probably just died of shock.
Million ways to die in the West. I made a Seth MacFarlane reference. I got it in.
Yeah, I bet you wish you could get it in. So everybody, thank you for listening. Emily will continue to send love letters to Seth MacFarlane with her own body odor on the letters. We tell her to stop doing it, but she keeps doing it. And
I don't think he's getting it. If he is, then because he would love me instantly if he just smelled me.
No comment, and we are going to go ahead and just say goodnight.
All right. We love you guys. Thank you for all 5 of you for listening to this. I very much appreciate it.
When did we get a bump in viewership?
Recently. We had
Goodbye,
1 or 2 of my
everybody.
friends start listening to it. See ya. Ciao, bitches.